MS Now's Ken Dilanian helped break this story. He joins me now. Also with us, Rob D'Amico, a former FBI supervisor and MS Now national security and intelligence analyst. And Eddie Glaude is a Princeton University professor and MS Now political analyst. Ken, starting with you, your latest reporting sort of fits into this larger picture of Patel's time as FBI director. Let's put it into context here.
Well, Ariel, Kash Patel came in as a disruptor, right? Saying that the FBI was a corrupt institution. And almost immediately he began firing civil servants in what the FBI Agents Association views as illegal firings. And he's been doing things that have angered and disquieted the large portions of the workforce almost since the moment he took office. And all during that time, people inside the FBI have been leaking embarrassing stories about him, whether it's his conduct in meetings or his habits of giving away challenge coins with the Punisher cartoon character on them, all kinds of stories. And just as long as that's been happening, Kash Patel has been trying to ferret out who these leakers are. And then our latest reporting is that he's subjecting members of his security detail and others to polygraphs. And that's important because, you know, this Atlantic magazine story that he's suing over, one of the most explosive allegations in that was that there have been times when Kash Patel was drinking so heavily the night before that his security detail had to wake him up or had trouble waking him up in the morning. That only could have come from them. And so now he's trying to put them under the microscope here. And then we're also reporting that he's really in panic mode, that he's afraid for his job. It's no secret that Donald Trump has contemplated firing him, and then he's walled himself off from his senior leadership. Now, his spokesman, Ben Williamson, had a colorful quote. He said the only people panicking are the panicons, that's a word that Donald Trump coined, in the news media and among Democratic politicians who are neglecting to cover the great work that the FBI is doing. Kash Patel believes he's doing great work. A lot of people in the workforce believe that he's essentially disrupted, if not ruined, the nation's foremost law enforcement agency, that it's going to take years to recover from what Kash Patel has done. And now we wait and see whether Kash Patel can keep his job, Ariel.
All right. So, Rob, we're living in some abnormal times, it seems. Is it common practice for an FBI director to polygraph his own staff and security detail over possible leaks?
Absolutely not. If the case was a criminal leak investigation of classified material, then you can see something like that. But, you know, they put this policy in that you can't reveal information that's counter to the administration's viewpoints or, you know, on Patel himself, because it's not a crime to do this. It's a policy the Bureau put in place. So the fact that he's wasting these resources, and that's what he's done from the beginning, you know, new jets and all these other things and BMWs for, you know, his travel and such. He is like a kid. And you see that in his behavior, walling himself off and not doing this and pouting. I think the only reason he's still there is I think the administration doesn't want to fire him because so many people are objecting to it. I think that no firing policy is still holding him in place. But like the names going around the Bureau for him, you know, Make-A-Wish director, because every time he sees something cool, he uses his position as a director of the FBI to do that, to sit in jets in Miramar, to go to hockey games, you know, Olympic hockey games, and then have an excuse for it on business-wise. So it's really starting to getting out. And he's not a part of the FBI culture. He doesn't know agents. Even though tons of agents wanted change with this administration, they did want to see change in the FBI, they gave him a chance, and he's proving them wrong in that he's not serious. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's all selfish. So he's now hibernating and paranoid. And the problem is it's affecting national security. If the FBI wasn't such a strong organization run by serious people, we'd be in problems. They're still doing their job, but he's taking resources away to do that.
And there you saw the split screen of him with the USA hockey team chugging beers. Eddie, so I do want to circle back to this question that many people have been asking. Should the American people be concerned that this is all a distraction from the real job that Kash Patel has, which is keeping Americans safe?
Of course. It's great to see you, Ariel. Of course, they should be concerned. What we see here is the effect, the consequence of, in some ways, the death of expertise and competence. Kash Patel is only in this position because he demonstrated fealty, I suppose, to Donald Trump. He did not bring any serious assets or skill sets. He wasn't a part of the culture, as was just said. And I think in this moment, the country's at war. It's at war with not with just another place. It's with Iran, who has an extensive reach that could impact our domestic situation here. So I think the American people should be not only concerned about terroristic threats, but we should be concerned about the deconstruction of the DOJ and the FBI.
Yeah, Eddie mentions fealty to President Trump. Rob, even with all that's going on here, Patel appears to be trying to give the president what he's been asking for, which is to punish someone for his 2020 election loss. In recent days, the FBI has sent an agent to talk to the top election official in Wisconsin about the 2020 election. And just this week, Patel made the case that he's laser focused still on the so-called grand conspiracy against Trump that he says is still going on. Let's listen.
They ran it back just now.
Explain.
In the last election, in the one that just put Trump back in office. They ran the same playbook of getting regurgitated, bogus information, funded by political operatives, seeded into the intelligence community, and that's what we figured out and unlocked. And that is what I spend most of my time when it comes to the de-weaponization of government, focused on collecting those bad actors, getting grand juries, getting prosecutors, and building teams around the country, not just in one location, to look at that, because these people haven't stopped.
You heard in his own words there, Rob, that he's spending a lot of his time on this. What's your reading on that?
He's gaslighting the entire country. He knows what will keep him in the job. And everyone understands, like, if you can give the administration and President Trump what he wants, especially the election. So he comes out with a piece. Every time he gets in trouble, he fires somebody, or he gets on a podcast like he just did with Sean Hannity to preach what he's doing to support, Mr. Trump's initiatives. And he knows that that's favored. And unfortunately, everyone can read into it. He's gaslighting the entire country, though. He has taken what he said the Bureau was, and he's turned it into that exact same thing, because they never did this before. They didn't investigate journalists for non-criminal leaks. They didn't investigate politicians for things that they're not going to be able to prove. But if he can start it, and then, if the court's getting away or whatever, he can just blame it on, liberal judges, or, whatever term they're using for him now. He just is trying to hang on to his job. And unfortunately, him hanging on to his job, like he said, he's spending all his time on that. And we are at war with Iran, which has very, very much the ability to come back into this country. And then other things, all the espionage things. He fired a bunch of CIA agents who work on counterintelligence for Iran. He fired them because he was upset with what they were doing. So, again, he's making the country more unsafe. The Bureau is trying as hard as they can to keep this country safe. But it's tough when you have a director like that.
Eddie, Lawfare published Fulton County grand jury transcripts that showed people like Senator Lindsey Graham, clearly an ally of Trump, repeatedly mentioning to him that he lost the 2020 election, that it was not stolen. But apparently Trump just won't listen to this. At one point, Graham said, quote, "If you told the president Martians came and stole the votes, he'd be inclined to believe it." And yet here we are, years later, the FBI is still investigating 2020. Is this just a situation where, as long as Patel, kind of as Rob was alluding to, as long as he drags this out, as long as he keeps telling Trump what he wants to hear, as long as he gets this to be fired up in courts, even if nothing comes of it, he's got a shot at keeping his job?
Well, on a certain level, Ariel, yes. I mean, if we want to pay attention to the useful idiot here, that's true, that Patel is trying to keep his job. But I think what we need to be paying attention to is that he's also, because he's trying to keep his job, participating in jeopardizing, undermining our democratic process. So we could focus on Patel. We could. But we need to focus on these folks, what they're doing in Fulton County, what they did in Arizona, what they're trying to do in Wisconsin, what we just saw in Virginia, how we're seeing the redistricting going on in the South right now. We're seeing an all-out assault on our democratic process. And we can focus on Kash Patel trying to keep his damn job. But I think we need to be focused on these folks trying to steal our democracy. And I think he's just one of the pawns in that effort to do just that.
And we are about to discuss redistricting in just a moment. Prescient of you. Rob D'Amico, Eddie Glaude, thank you both so much. Appreciate it.